So far, the party's won with sea power and air power. Now, they must cultivate desert power. Good portents, one and all, I'm Andrew Silverbeard, and welcome to the Big Friendly Goliath, where we discuss D&D and fantasy fiction. Today, we're talking about 5 ways you can Dune up your tabletop game, from monsters and campaign ideas to brand new player options. If you're still unfamiliar, Dune is an epic sci-fi fantasy series that imagines a distant future with a ruling feudal society spread out amongst the stars. Vast noble houses vie for control of a desert planet called Arrakis. Arrakis is the sole source of the melange, a psychoactive spice that permits interstellar travel. The planet Arrakis is also home to kilometer-long giant sandworms and the dangerous desert tribes that worship them. Dune recounts the conflict between houses Atreides and Harkonnen amidst the backdrop of an ancient prophecy of a chosen one foretold by a mystic order of psionic priestesses. It's just so much fun. And you can bring in elements from the Dune series to your game to really spice things up. Seriously. 1. Faction conflict. Faction intrigue is already pretty well known to D&D, but using factions as the prime movers of a campaign or as front and center of the game's drama isn't as common as you think. But it should be, because faction intrigue is exciting, narratively satisfying, and ultimately really compelling stuff for your players to dive into. Now, the factions in Dune aren't necessarily the most complex, but all the different moving parts create effective tension. The themes of manipulation, uncertain allies, deception, zero-sum scenarios, and bitter betrayal are all as present in Dune as they are in any good factional drama. So if you're looking for examples for how to build a faction in a D&D campaign, there are several good official and unofficial sources in which to find good inspiration. The Magic the Gathering setting Ravnica is home to 10 different guilds, all acting as vying factions. And there's also even intra-guild conflict creating factions within factions. You definitely don't need to get that complex. The Sword Coast set Waterdeep Dragon Heist is a great example of a low-level campaign that's easy enough to run while dealing with 5 factions, including the GM's choice of 4 different ultimate baddies. It's probably considered one of the best official adventures there is. Finally, from an unofficial angle, Ghostfire Gaming's Dungeons of Drakkenheim from YouTubers The Dungeon Dudes also offers faction drama that's both easy for beginners to run, yet surprisingly deep. So if you're new to running factions, these both can give you solid jumping off points. 2. The use of prophecy. Grandiose ideas of prophetic destiny are in the blood of Dune's identity. Ancient foretellings of the future with messianic iconography. Again, you don't necessarily need to go that far or that deep, but a good prophecy on a tabletop game is worth its weight in gold. And by a good prophecy, I mean one that's necessarily vague, but also eerily specific enough just to excite players and plant seeds within their mind. It's something that will need to be referenced throughout their adventures, but over time the players will gain interest and start guessing what its ultimate meaning is, which you can use to help inform or alter whatever the meaning ends up being. So don't be too afraid to have an open-ended idea or be willing to change it on the fly if that's the direction the players think it's going. And possibilities abound. A cataclysmic event, the rebirth of an old god, the rising of a champion or a party of champions. There's all sorts of dramatic things a prophecy can vaguely describe, and the details can be filled in along the way as you and the players unravel what it all means. Hey guys, before we go any further, I'd like to ask you to take 2 to 3 seconds of your time and just slap that like and subscribe button for me if you could, and hit the little bell icon so you can see whenever I drop new stuff. It would help me a lot. Alright, now back to the video. 3. The desert setting. This one feels obvious, probably because it is, but it's still very much worth mentioning because it's actually the most important, and because desert campaign settings are awesome. They're unique and nuanced and very dramatic, especially if you lean into the type of desert drama that Dune does so well. Between the palpable fear of the noble houses feeling towards the planet's many dangers, or the native Fremen's customs, such as the still suit that absorbs all of the human body's moisture, or the sandworms' propagation of the psychoactive spice melange, the story of Dune practically makes the desert a character in itself. This sort of high-concept fantasy is absolutely ripe for use in a D&D game. Things like having the party ration water and hunt for oases while avoiding sandstorms, in dealing with dangerous yo-yoing temperatures between day and night. A desert can make the next hex crawl unique, dramatic, and memorable. 4. Dune Monsters. Now, the bestiary of the Dune series is not big, but one member of it is absolutely gargantuan. I'm of course referring to the giant sandworms that are the true stars of the series. But there are also the Lazatigers of Seleucia Secundus. Now, the famous giant sandworms work in equal measure as monsters the party must avoid or fight, as well as things like plot points and religious deities. And the Lazatigers of Seleucia Secundus, while not native to Arrakis, can provide bestial support to their masters as brain-controlled big blue cats. And the upside to both of these are there are already stat blocks that you can adapt for both of them, although you'll probably want to tweak the stat block to the purple worm if you're trying to make it seem like the one from Arrakis. 5. Let players be Fremen. So, if you're about to start a new campaign and you're using any of the aforementioned ideas, and most especially if you're about to start a campaign that takes place in a desert setting, with Dunemonium going on, it's very possible one of your players is going to ask if they can play a Fremen. And of course, you want to help them out with that. There are several prescribed ways to go about doing this. The most popular answers online are simply reflavoring a Gloomstalker Ranger or a Shadow Monk. Might work perfectly well for some, and I completely support those who choose to do so. For me, I'd rather offer my players something where the mechanics can really match the theme, and while 5e Rangers are much more magical than the Fremen of Dune, there are great ways to distill some of that vaunted power through 5e's magic set. A Fremen-inspired Ranger would be a Shadow of the Sands, someone with expert survival skills and a knack for ambushing in broad daylight, made even more potent when they're afforded the opportunity to hide. They would off with their enemies to help land their strikes. They'd be hardened from life amongst harsh desert elements, yet also be at one with the shifting sands of the dunes. And eventually, they'd learn to make precise blows so potent that their martial prowess would be the stuff of legends. So there you go. I've done like half of the work for you. All you've got to do is actually write out and spec out a cool, balanced, thematically fitting Ranger subclass and make sure that that player that really wants to be a Fremen has the best and most memorable time possible. And you know what? While you're at it, you should probably cook up some desert-themed backgrounds, too, to make sure their character has some mechanics to fit their backstory. It lets anyone else that might not want to be a Fremen warrior still place some roots in the desert world and its culture that you're building if they want. So yeah, no pressure. You've got this. Good luck. What's that? You don't want to write a whole new Ranger Enclave subclass and a new character background? Well, and that's cool, I suppose, because I've already done it for you. I've made them. Yeah, they're fun. They're ready to go. They're in the link below. The backgrounds can help players get situated within your campaign world, while the Dune Shadow Enclave Ranger subclass gives players a powerful and thematic new play option. Please try them out. Let me know what you think of them. Leave a comment and let me know how they run. But that's it, guys. That was the whole video. That was 5 ways to Dune up your game. Anyways, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.